The version of Jaws you saw in theaters was nearly a completely different movie. You know the shark, but do you know about the supernatural atomic Golem theory, or the hidden alternate fate of Alex Kintner that stayed locked in the studio archives? Most fans don't realize Steven Spielberg used a subconscious color code to manipulate your brain. Today, we're uncovering 15 hidden truths about Jaws 1975. And tucked inside it, there's a hidden Easter egg that reveals a secret connection to the James Bond franchise. Number 1. The dark alternate ending you never saw. Did you know Jaws almost had a completely different, much darker ending? The iconic finale where Chief Brody blows up the shark was purely Steven Spielberg's invention. In Peter Benchley's original novel, the conclusion is grim and anticlimactic. First, beloved scientist Matt Hooper doesn't survive and meets a grim fate during the cage attack. Then, instead of a fiery explosion, the shark simply succumbs to its many harpoon wounds and exhaustion, slowly sinking into the deep just inches before reaching Brody. Spielberg realized this realistic ending was a massive downer. He argued that after torturing the audience for 2 hours, they deserved a stand-up-and-cheer payoff. Scientific accuracy be damned. Number 2. The real mystery victim in the background. In 1974, a decade-long unsolved mystery began in Provincetown, Massachusetts, involving an unidentified dead woman known for decades as the Lady of the Dunes. The mystery took a surreal turn when author Joe Hill spotted a background extra in Jaws who bore a startling resemblance to the victim. Appearing during the crowded July 4th beach scene, the woman wore clothing that matched the case's evidence perfectly. In 2022, DNA technology finally identified her as Ruth Marie Terry. While law enforcement hasn't officially confirmed her presence on set, the timeline and visual evidence create a haunting overlap between a Hollywood masterpiece and a real-life tragedy. Number 3. The mystery of the severed leg. One of the most sought-after lost sequences in horror history involves the attack in the estuary. In the theatrical version, we only see a brief haunting shot of a severed limb sinking to the seabed. However, Spielberg's original vision was far more intense and visceral. He filmed an extended sequence involving highly realistic practical effects that showed the full scale of the Predator's power. This deleted footage included close-up shots of the aftermath that were so detailed they left early test audiences in shock. Fearing the film would receive a restrictive R rating, producers insisted that Spielberg cut the most graphic elements to keep the movie accessible to a wider audience. Number 4. The banned death of Alex Kintner. The attack on young Alex Kintner is a legendary moment of cinematic terror, but it was nearly much more graphic. Production records show that the special effects team originally built a complex dummy to depict a visceral, direct encounter with the Predator. Spielberg's initial plan was to show a much more explicit version of the event. However, after reviewing the footage, he made a pivotal creative choice. He realized that showing such intense violence would be too overwhelming and might alienate the audience. He opted instead for a masterclass in suggestion, using a sudden fountain of color and the boy's disappearance to create terror through implication. Number 5. The subconscious code of yellow. Steven Spielberg used a secret color code in Jaws to manipulate your emotions. He strictly forbade the color red on every set, reserving it only for blood to ensure maximum impact when violence occurred. Meanwhile, yellow became the shark's calling card. From Alex Kintner's bright yellow raft to his mother's hat and the yellow barrels used to track the beast, the color was everywhere. This wasn't a coincidence, it was psychological conditioning. By linking yellow to every shark-related tragedy, Spielberg trained the audience's subconscious to feel a sense of dread the moment the color appeared on screen. It signaled that the Predator was nearby before a single fin ever broke the water. Number 6. The Mafia's secret island investment. In the movie Jaws, Mayor Larry Vaughn is shown as a greedy politician protecting summer tourism. However, the original novel by Peter Benchley reveals a much darker secret. In the book, the town of Amity is a massive financial front for organized crime. The mayor isn't just worried about local business, he is deeply in debt to the mob, who have heavily leveraged the island's real estate. The mobsters made it clear that if a shark panic caused property values to crash, the mayor's life would be forfeit. Director Steven Spielberg eventually cut this entire storyline, choosing to strip away the complex human greed and focus instead on the primal cinematic battle of man versus nature, making the shark the ultimate singular villain. Number 7. The supernatural atomic golem theory. One haunting fan theory suggests the shark in Jaws isn't a biological animal, but a supernatural force of karmic retribution. This theory stems from Quint's chilling monologue about the USS Indianapolis, the real-life Navy ship that delivered the atomic bomb in 1945 before being sunk by sharks. Thousands of sailors were eaten, and theorists believe those sharks were agents of a curse for the nuclear holocaust. 30 years later, this specific predator appears, seemingly obsessed with Quint, a survivor of that tragedy. It ignores easy bait and focuses its destructive rage almost entirely on Quint's boat, the Orca. Number 8. The real shark that saved a hero. In the original Jaws novel and script, scientist Matt Hooper dies during the shark cage sequence. However, his cinematic survival was a happy accident caused by a real predator. While filming live shark footage in Australia, a massive great white became agitated and got its gills caught in the cage's cables. The shark went into a violent frenzy, thrashing until the metal cage was completely destroyed. Fortunately, no stuntman was inside at the time. Spielberg found the footage so spectacular and terrifying that he had to include it. To make the scene work, he rewrote the script, allowing Hooper to escape the cage and hide on the seabed. Ultimately, Matt Hooper survived only because a real shark attacked an empty cage, turning a tragic death into one of the movie's biggest cheers. Number 9. The secret dinosaur roar. Spielberg included a subtle nod to his first feature film, Duel, during the shark's final moments. As the predator's remains sink to the bottom of the ocean after the explosion, you can hear a distinct, guttural roaring sound. Biologically, sharks do not have vocal cords and cannot roar. But Spielberg used this sound effect to link his cinematic monsters. It is the exact same sound used for the villainous tanker truck in Duel 1971 as it falls off a cliff at the end of that movie. The sound itself was originally a stock effect created for a dinosaur in the 1957 B-movie The Land Unknown. By using this specific roar, Spielberg spiritually connected the shark and the truck as elemental, unnatural machines of destruction, creating his own subtle monster universe that predates modern franchises. Number 10. The director who didn't know what the monster was. Before Steven Spielberg, director Dick Richards almost led Jaws into a disaster. Producers initially hired him for his tense style, but a bizarre recurring mistake ended his career on the project. During creative meetings, Richards repeatedly referred to the shark as a whale. He even pitched an opening scene where the whale bursts from the ocean. This simple error proved he didn't grasp the fundamental terror of the story. A whale is a majestic mammal, a shark is a cold-blooded predator. To the producers, if a director couldn't distinguish between the two, he couldn't possibly direct a movie built on the fear of a hunter. They fired him on the spot, opening the door for 26-year-old Spielberg. Number 11. The iconic Ad-Lib born from a gripe. The most famous line in Jaws, "You're gonna need a bigger boat," wasn't even in the script. It actually began as a sarcastic inside joke among the crew during the film's notoriously difficult production. The support barge carrying their equipment and food was far too small, leading everyone to constantly grumble that they were gonna need a bigger boat just to survive the shoot. Actor Roy Scheider found the phrase perfect for Chief Brody's reaction after he finally sees the massive great white shark for the first time. He ad-libbed the line during a take, and Spielberg immediately knew it worked. Number 12. The Nixonian political cover-up. To understand the character of Mayor Larry Vaughn, you have to look at 1975 America. The country was reeling from the Watergate scandal, which had recently led to President Richard Nixon's resignation. Many historians view the mayor as a direct cinematic parallel to Nixon. Just as the government tried to cover up corruption to protect its image, the mayor refuses to close the beaches, despite clear evidence of a killer shark. He prioritizes the town's best interest, a phrase used to protect tourism revenue over human lives. In this political lens, the shark isn't just a predator, it represents a truth that cannot be buried. Number 13. The secret James Bond Easter egg. Before he was a legend, Steven Spielberg desperately wanted to direct a James Bond movie. After being rejected by 007 producers twice, he decided to smuggle a secret tribute into Jaws. In the scene where Hooper and Brody gut a captured tiger shark, they pull a Louisiana license plate from its stomach. If you look closely, the plate number is 0070981, a direct nod to the famous secret agent. The plate also features the slogan "Sportsman's Paradise," referencing the Bond film Live and Let Die, which was released during Jaws production. This was Spielberg's clever, rebellious way of getting Bond into his movie after being told he wasn't allowed to direct the real thing. Number 14. The ghost ship rotting on a secret island. To film the terrifying sinking scenes without destroying the primary boat, the crew built a mechanical duplicate called the Orca II. This hollow fiberglass shell used complex hydraulics to sink and tilt on command. However, it was a temperamental beast, sinking unintentionally 24 times during the grueling shoot. Once the movie wrapped, instead of a museum, the crew simply abandoned it on a private island in Martha's Vineyard. For decades, it sat there like a spooky ghost ship, slowly rotting in the salt air. Hardcore fans would trek to the island to strip pieces of the hull for souvenirs, treating it like a holy relic of cinema. Eventually, nature destroyed the vessel, leaving only a melancholic memory of the greatest battle in movie history buried in the sand. Number 15. The 4'11" Stuntman secret. To capture realistic footage of a great white attacking the shark cage, Spielberg sent a crew to Australia to film real animals. However, they faced a massive scale problem. Real great whites average 15 feet, but the movie's mechanical shark, Bruce, was 25 feet long. To bridge this gap, the crew used a brilliant trick called forced perspective. They built a miniature shark cage and hired Carl Rizzo, a professional jockey standing only 4 feet 11 inches tall. By placing a small man in a tiny cage, the 16-foot sharks appeared like 25-foot gargantuan monsters on camera. From the haunting atomic golem theory to the subconscious manipulation of the color yellow, it's clear that Jaws is much more than just a monster movie. It is a masterpiece built on a foundation of happy accidents, real-life mysteries, and Spielberg's psychological genius. Whether it's the secret 007 revenge or the 4'11" stuntman trick that made the Predator look legendary, these truths prove why the film still terrifies us 50 years later. Next time you're at the beach, ask yourself, are you just afraid of a shark or the unnatural machine Spielberg planted in your mind? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more hidden movie truths.